Okay, so how do we get to the Limestone Coast? You can go by air. Fly into Mount Gambier Airport via Adelaide or Melbourne with Regional Express. There's also charter options available through De Bruin Air. You can come in by bus. The Premier State Liner goes daily from Adelaide, and the V line goes from Melbourne daily. But I guess we're predominantly popular for our self-drive. It's the Adelaide to the Limestone Coast, or Melbourne to the Limestone Coast, is very easy drive, especially for people who are trying the self-drive for the first time. It's some nice wide open roads, and it's very easy to get around and takes in some wonderful scenery. Now, the Melbourne to Adelaide touring route is probably the most popular of them all. Takes along the Great Ocean Road up through where the Limestone Coast, either the inland or seaside route, or a combination of both, through to Adelaide or onto Kangaroo Island, which is obviously another one of Australia's great icons. So we are situated directly between the Great Ocean Road and Kangaroo Island, two of Australia's great icons.
Guys, if I can just jump in there. So if you've got people coming over and wanting to do a self-drive experience, it's good to start in Adelaide if they want to do that drive rather than the other way around. Driving in and out of Adelaide is extremely easy, and as Paul pointed out, if it is the first time they've driven on the other side of the road, they'll at least be used to it by the time they hit the heavy Melbourne traffic. So I do recommend doing it from Adelaide towards Melbourne in that direction.
Okay, we put together a 3-day Adelaide to Adelaide self-drive route for the Asian market, but it certainly translates through to any market, because it does take into account our great attractions. So this Adelaide to Adelaide 3-day route was certainly popular to the Asian market, so I hope it really does translate. Any of the businesses that are mentioned on this route are very open to the and do offer commissions, so certainly take note of any of the businesses, and you'll see that you can certainly work with them. So it's of the 3-day tour. Day 1, we suggest Adelaide to Robe, so you head south out of Adelaide towards Tailem Bend. So you can do it 2 ways. You can come through from Adelaide through to Tailem Bend, or you can go through the Fleurieu Peninsula through Strathalbyn and across what's called the Wellington Punt, just a little drive on like a ferry boat, which takes you across a small narrow part of the river, the Murray River, and you can head down into the Limestone Coast from there. So then you head down towards Meningie on Lake Albert, and you can take in the views and the coastal drive of the Coorong. As you can see, that first photo there is a view of what the Coorong's about. On the right-hand side, you have that inland body of water, and the left-hand side is the actual ocean. So you can see it's only separated by a set of sand dunes. Now the Coorong is quite exciting for any one of the wildlife lovers. It has over 170 bird species. It has all the great Australian iconic wildlife, with the kangaroos, koalas, wombats, etc. It's got a wonderful colony of pelicans, so you will see many different species of animals along that drive. It's a very easy drive. The road pretty much runs across the inside, on the outside there of the Coorong waterway. So it is a very pretty drive, and certainly plenty of stops along the way to view the scenic lookouts, etc. Now the Coorong also is very famous for its fish called the Coorong mullet. Obviously the only place in the world you can get Coorong mullet, and it has a very distinctive taste, and you can certainly partake in that delicacy anywhere along the Coorong, particularly in Meningie. So the route will take you down past Kingston. Now Kingston is famous for Larry, the big lobster. So as you can see, there's a picture of Larry, the big lobster. There's a bit of a story behind Larry. Larry was first. They organised to have a lobster built to put on top of the cafe there. They asked for it to be 8 foot tall. They got the measurements wrong and made it 8 metres tall. So when it rocked up on the truck to put on top of the cafe's roof, they were quite astounded that they could never put it on there. It was going to crush the cafe. So Larry proudly sits out front of the cafe now and is one of the great attractions. Obviously, most people know Australia is famous for its big things, and Larry the lobster was rated the second best big thing in Australia. So
next to the big banana, probably.
Big banana was actually #1. So it's certainly well worth a look, and the international market certainly do love the lobster because it is one of our great delicacies here. So yeah, the overnight stay in Robe at the Robe Melaleuca, Harbour View or Lakeview Motel Apartments, all offering commissions and very open to putting packages together. Day 2, Robe to Mount Gambier and on to Penola. So again, the Robe's very close to everything, so you can head down through Beachport, another little seaside town, taking the Bowman Scenic Drive, sort of a mini version of the Great Ocean Road, so you can get a little bit of a look along the ocean there where you're driving right along the seaside. You can go to the Pool of Siloam in Beachport. Now that's a salt lake that is 7 times saltier than the sea. Also probably what you call a mini version of the Dead Sea. So it's a chance, it has a lot of healing qualities, so a lot of people like to go for a walk through there. Then you can drive southeast to Millicent and try some Wagyu beef at Mayura Station's tasting room. Now obviously Wagyu beef is very famous for its marbling content, and we're lucky enough in the Limestone Coast to have it's almost like a cellar door for beef, where you can come along and try Wagyu beef in all different forms, from a simple tasting plate up to a 4-course meal of a degustation plate. So again, that's fully commissionable too. So Mayura Station are looking at they offer commissions on that experience. So from there you can travel through the Wokwine Wind Farm, which is the largest wind farm in the Southern Hemisphere. It has some amazing views, and again takes you on a winding tour along the coastline, and brings you into Mount Gambier. I've given a bit of a spiel on Mount Gambier already, so that's a chance to visit the Blue Lake Aquifer and see the wonderful sights of Mount Gambier. And from there, probably head up north back towards Penola and Coonawarra, where you get to get a chance to try some of the wonderful wines and see everything that Penola has to offer. Now, I suggest spending a night at Penola's Alexander Cameron Motel and Apartments. It's a 4-star apartments and accommodation. Again, very open to commission. And then the final day would be a drive back to Adelaide. So you can visit the Mary McKillop Penola Centre and down the historic Petticoat Lane. Drive towards Narracourt to visit the Narracourt Caves and fossil site. Then you can head up through Padthaway, which is another wine region famous for its Chardonnay. So you could probably go from one of the best red wine regions up to one of the best white wine regions, and head back towards Adelaide along the highway there. There's also a detour you can do to Bordertown, which is just over here. And Bordertown has the only known colony of white kangaroos in Australia. Now, the white kangaroos are not an albino kangaroo. They're just a genetic strain of the western grey, and it's the only place you can actually see them out of a zoo. So it is well worth a bit of a detour there for the nature and wildlife lovers. The other options is the Adelaide to Melbourne drive, as Matt suggested, probably a great way of starting the Melbourne to Adelaide or Adelaide to Melbourne route is in Adelaide because of the ease of just easing yourself into driving. Once you get out of Adelaide, it is a very simple drive all the way through to the Great Ocean Road, where it gets a little bit windy, but still well worth an easy drive, and then you should have the confidence of driving in Melbourne by taking those couple of days out in the country. So again, Adelaide to Robe, would suggest Robe as the stopover point because of the ease of access to all that the Limestone Coast has to offer from there. Second day can bring you into anywhere along the Great Ocean Road. Port Fairy's a beautiful little town just outside of Warrnambool, but you can even take a longer drive and actually get onto the Great Ocean Road if that's what people want to do, and actually stay in places like Lorne or Apollo Bay or Warrnambool or Port Campbell along the way. So that from Robe to Port Fairy is approximately a 4-hour drive, but with plenty of stops along the way, it's quite an easy drive.
Keep in mind too, guys, all these little towns have beachfront public barbecue areas too. So if people do want to, try and save some money, if they are a little bit more frugal and want to, buy some lobster during the lobster season, you can pick up fairly cheap lobster anywhere between September through to February, which is our lobster season, and cook it on one of the public barbecues, which are all free to use. And same if you're buying some Wagyu beef, you can slap it on the barbecue down the road at one of the public barbecues and have yourself a picnic just about anywhere along that stretch between Adelaide and Melbourne. There are a whole bunch of public facilities which are fantastic for the self-drive market to utilise.
The great thing about it is because the Limestone Coast has those 4 distinctive seasons, the fresh food and wine, etc., is very, very cost effective. The wines in Coonawarra region are very are quite cheap actually, so you can get your hands on some beautiful wine for not a very large cost.